We got one speaker and then we're left, and then we're going to take a 10-minute break, okay? He's a Canadian viral immunologist and associate professor in the Department of Pathobiology at the University of Guelph. He has a PhD in immunology from the University of Guelph and a postdoctoral training in oncolytic, that's bad. You can correct me, Byram. Immunotherapy at McMaster University. He's authored over 100 peer-reviewed scientific papers. Please welcome Byram Bridle. Dr. Byram Bridle.
Hello, everybody. I'm thrilled to be here today. Thank you to Eric Bouchard, Daryl Comic, Sean Newman, and everyone else involved with organizing this event. One emphasis of the report on Alberta's response to the COVID-19 pandemic was informed consent. I'm going to focus on one representative question. Was the standard for informed consent met when COVID-19 shots were administered to pregnant and breastfeeding mothers? Upon my Bible, I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. These are my disclosures, which people can review at a later time. Here's some highlights of my expertise that show why I'm well qualified to testify about scientific issues related to COVID-19. If we are going to question informed consent, then we need to know what the standard for informed consent is. The Alberta Medical Association defers to the definition in a document entitled Consent, a Guide for Canadian Physicians. The Supreme Court of Canada has imposed a stringent standard of disclosure upon physicians, which in this case is defined as what a reasonable woman who is pregnant or breastfeeding would have expected to hear before consenting. Many people and organizations rigorously promoted COVID-19 shots for pregnant and breastfeeding women, including Alberta's Medical Association. The Alberta Medical Association guaranteed the safety and effectiveness of shots in this demographic. Laughably, they also suggested that having concerns about the COVID-19 shots was okay. For any experts who voiced these concerns, I would ask you, was it deemed okay to do so? They also encouraged us to support each other to learn more. Was censorship of those with dissenting views the best way to support learning more? And I want everyone to remember that the COVID-19 shots were ultimately mandated for pregnant and breastfeeding women. Members of Canada's federal parliament can submit what are called order paper questions. It is a way for them to obtain information from government agencies. Federal order paper question 2163 asked, were randomized controlled trials used to obtain approval and support safety claims in pregnant and lactating women? And what is Health Canada's scientific basis for claiming safety of COVID-19 modified RNA shots in pregnant and lactating women? Here are the answers from Health Canada and the Public Health Agency of Canada. As highlighted in yellow, none of the COVID-19 vaccine manufacturers asked for their products to be used in pregnant or breastfeeding women. Nor did they submit any data from clinical trials to support regulatory evaluation for this purpose. In all their product monographs, including the most current versions, the vaccine manufacturers have clearly stated that the safety and efficacy of their vaccines have not been established for pregnant or breastfeeding women. Finally, Health Canada clearly stated the following, and I quote, Health Canada has not approved any safety claims with regard to pregnant and lactating women. So why, long before this, did Alberta's Medical Association guarantee the safety and effectiveness for these women? So let me show you so you can see with your own eyes. Here is the most current product monograph being used for the current shots, in this case, Pfizer. Let's zoom in. Next. What does it say in their product monograph, their current product monograph? For pregnant women, no data are available yet regarding the use of Comirnaty during pregnancy. For breastfeeding women, no data are available yet regarding the use of Comirnaty during breastfeeding. It is unknown whether Comirnaty is excreted in human milk. A risk to newborns and infants cannot be excluded. For children, the safety and efficacy of Comirnaty in children under 6 months of age have not yet been established. Why is this important? Because they don't even know, or they claim they don't know, if it can even be excreted in human milk. And if it is excreted in human milk, then these shots are being given in an unauthorized form, which is orally, to an unauthorized population, which are our infants, our breastfeeding infants. Next, the statement that it is, and I quote, unknown whether Comirnaty is excreted in human milk. Note, that was published on October 25th, 2024, which is more than 1 year after all relevant data on this subject had been published. Based on scientific references shown here, this is what we now know about modified RNA shots in breastfeeding. Modified RNA from COVID-19 shots can spread throughout the body, including occasionally into human breast milk, where it is often fragmented. This is not surprising, since this is the systemic distribution of the lipid nanoparticles that carry the modified RNAs has been known for more than a decade. There's evidence that human milk exosomes and their microRNAs can survive digestion and be taken up by human intestinal cells. The current model of modified RNA biodistribution for breast milk is this, and this is based on the published scientific literature. Lipid nanoparticles carrying the modified RNA systemically diffuse to mammary glands through the blood and lymphatic vessels. The lipid nanoparticles deliver the modified RNAs into mammary cells. Mammary cells package the modified RNAs into exosomes. Exosomes carrying the modified RNAs get released from the mammary cells and get into the breast milk. So, how can it be claimed that the science is unknown? And it wasn't like it was challenging to understand this messaging when reading the titles of papers like this one. Any medical expert could understand what that title means. Of concern, it appears like these product monographs were not even included in at least some of the boxes that contain the COVID-19 vaccine vials. This is an example of a so-called information insert that was taken from a box from a recent clinic held in Victoria, British Columbia. It is completely empty, and as you can see, says intentionally blank. A request through Canada's Access to Information and Privacy Act resulted in this document outlining the research management plan required by Health Canada for the COVID-19 shots to receive authorization by interim order. This confirms that vaccine effectiveness, which means how well they work in a real-world setting, was, as you can see, unknown. Most people didn't realize that on this basis, the official language that should have been used was, the vaccines may be effective. And indeed, this was the very language that Health Canada used internally. But those of us that pushed for public correction of the safe and effective mantra were viciously attacked. There is a big difference between the following. Is the vaccine effective? Yes. Is the vaccine effective? Maybe. And that's literally what the message should have been. This document also officially confirms that data to support the use of the shots in pregnant and breastfeeding women was missing. This documentation also revealed that Health Canada was investigating reports from around the world about pregnant or breastfeeding women who had inadvertently received the shots during early rollouts. Most people have never seen this information before. These data suggest that in breastfeeding moms who had inadvertently received the shots, 21% of their suckling infants had clinical issues, and 25% of the moms had lactation issues. At the same point in time, I publicly reported similar but less concerning data that I had found in the United States Public Vaccine Safety Database. And the response for me was a global defamation campaign. And if, after this, we overlay the failure to acknowledge the validity of naturally acquired immunity as a form of immunity in pregnant breastfeeding women, it makes this evidence against proper informed consent even more egregious. There are now more than 108 published peer-reviewed scientific papers demonstrating the superiority of naturally acquired immunity against SARS coronavirus 2. Next. So here are the hard questions that demand answers. The Supreme Court of Canada says the standard for informed consent is to be measured by what a reasonably thinking pregnant or breastfeeding woman would have expected to hear before consenting. Would a pregnant or breastfeeding mom have reasonably expected disclosure that, and I quote, Health Canada has not approved any safety claims with regard to pregnant and lactating women? Or that the manufacturers never asked for their shots to be given to these women? That no data were submitted to support giving these women the shots? How about the Health Canada was investigating early post-marketing surveillance data showing that for breastfeeding moms that had inadvertently received the shots, 21% of their suckling infants had clinical issues and 25% of the moms had lactation issues. Should evidence of naturally acquired immunity been acceptable as evidence of immunity for these women? Based on the evidence, was the standard for informed consent met for pregnant and breastfeeding women? I'll leave that for you to answer, because this report that came forward from the Alberta government is all about opening the floor for discussion and being able to freely ask these types of questions finally. Are these kinds of questions worth discussing in transparent public forums, or should those posing them be gaslighted and subjected to dangerous ad hominem attacks and censorship? So that's where I conclude the formal part of my presentation, but I mentioned this issue about censorship and ad hominem attacks. And I just wanted to share with you a few things. So if you go to the next slide. I want to tell you that leading up to this event, it was incredible, the amount of rhetoric that was spewed at the speakers who are presenting to you today. And for the people who were organizing this event and anybody who was associated with the report on Alberta's response to the COVID-19 pandemic. It was nothing but rhetoric and ad hominem attacks. I saw no scientific evidence ever in any of these things. Here's examples here. The group run out of Alberta, Science Up First. They claim to be experts in combating health misinformation. They are one of the biggest spreaders of health misinformation that I have ever seen. You can see an example here, and here's your local CTV Calgary News. For example, look at what they both reported. They claim that this report is saying that vaccination should stop immediately, and although many of us who were involved do believe that's the case, we certainly believe that's the case for children and breastfeeding and lactating women, there's no question. But when it comes to, especially beyond the children and these women, you know, adults can make their own decisions, you know, and what we're pushing for is fully informed consent. That's what we really want to push for, is fully informed consent. And we did not actually say that for everybody just immediately stop and don't make these vaccines available anymore. What the report actually says, I'm just showing you here, is immediately halt the use of all COVID-19 vaccines when there's an absence of full disclosure, like I just shared with you for pregnant and breastfeeding women. In other words, make sure there's full disclosure so people can actually make properly informed decisions. If these are great products, people are welcome to take them if they choose to. Yet the media outlets lied about that. And this was already shown to you, right? I can tell you, I offered to do interviews for the Globe and Mail, right? They claim to want to be providing balanced and fair coverage. They interview they're a select group of doctors that serve as mouthpieces for a certain narrative. And when those of us step up and they criticize us, they kept publishing all kinds of hit pieces against us. And when the people they're publishing hit pieces against step up like myself and say, I will be interviewed, I will bring the data. Why don't you interview me alongside these same experts that are claiming that I'm spreading misinformation? And instead of granting me an interview, they publish cartoons like this depicting us as monsters, as beasts. This is not acceptable. Here's an example. Dr. Gary Davidson was just here talking about how one of the chapters talked about alternative medications, including ivermectin. This is what your media here showed when talking about that chapter. They went to the and showed the veterinary ivermectin. This is unbelievable. I just want to say, CTV News Calgary, pay attention. Ivermectin is a human drug. Learn that. Next. Dr. Shelley Duggan. She is the president of the Alberta Medical Association. She was interviewed leading up to this event. She told everybody that anybody involved with this report was spreading misinformation, and as a consequence of that, we were killing people. That is dangerous rhetoric. That is not the type of thing that professionals should be getting up and saying in public, and that should not be propagated in public. And I'm going to show you why. Next slide. All right? I just want to give you one example of why the public promotion of ad hominem attacks is dangerous. This was an email that was sent. This just gives you an example, because what I want to give you is a behind-the-scenes feel for what the speakers up here go through and the weeks leading up to events like this and the kind of garbage that we get exposed to on a regular basis, okay? So your MLA, member of your Legislative Assembly, Eric Bouchard, got this email on behalf of all of us who were involved with this report. Okay, so I just want to say I've submitted for consideration by Alberta's cabinet. It's the cabinet's got to take responsibility for these things, all right? And I've put forward 11 formal suggestions for how they can move forward, okay? But I just want to address this last piece for a little bit, because for all those who accuse us of spreading misinformation and destroying our careers and causing people to threaten us like this, people don't have to realize we've had to have heightened security at this event and the related events related directly to this one here as a result of people like the president of the Alberta Medical Association promoting that kind of dangerous rhetoric, okay? It's not acceptable. But to those who keep accusing us of spreading misinformation, how can you dare accuse us of spreading misinformation when we keep showing you the facts? We're showing you the truth. The bare bones truth. We're showing you documentation from Health Canada and the vaccine manufacturers themselves. All we're saying is we are posing questions, and the doors need to be opened for discussions. Come to the table and discuss the science with us. If you think we're spreading misinformation, you are all invited to this event here. Members of Science Up First, the members of the Alberta Medical Association, etc. They refuse to show up. They keep refusing to show up and coming to the table. Show up at the table, be mature, stop the ad hominem attacks, stop the rhetoric. It's dangerous. We will not return wrong with wrong. We will not treat you the way you treat us. We will sit at the table and we will keep speaking the truth until you show up with your data and show that we are wrong, because we are not. Thank you very much.